All righty. So let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully, we'll have some more people jumping on here. Um, I think everybody's getting a little early start on their summer. I know we've got there's college graduations and a lot of things going on right now. So the next couple weeks might be a little light, but hopefully we'll get everybody back. Because, as you know, we have started having far more powerful conversations in here, and we are going to continue that. And so today, I'm going to talk about something that might surprise you, something we're going to remove from our tracker and something we've added to our tracker. And then I'll explain why, and then let's have some conversation around it. If it brings up any limiting beliefs or feelings or thoughts, we want to hear about it. Okay. Oh, someone's having trouble getting on. But before we get into that, as always, is there something specific that you're here to mastermind around? Okay, just making sure. So again, as always, if something comes up in conversation, something comes up you want to mastermind around because you think of it or the conversation brings it up, throw it in the chat and we'll make sure that we allow time for that. Hi, Raphael. All righty. So, as you guys know, we talked recently about this as well. We send out a weekly activity tracker. Does everybody receive that on Monday mornings? Okay. And
I
I
don't
know,
think I do, Jody, to be
okay,
honest
we'll
with you.
check in on that. I will check on that. Let me make a note. If you don't see me write things down when I say I'm going to do it, it doesn't count. Anybody else have that problem? Got to set yourself reminders.
For sure.
Okay, I will follow up on that, Dennis. Um, so every Monday morning, you should be getting a weekly activity tracker link. It's not a big deal. It's a short email, but be sure and look for it. You just click on it and you answer the questions. What I'm going to do is I am going to pull it up. If I can, hang on. Helps if I'm in the right spot to pull it up, huh? I want to have a little bit of a conversation around this and why we do this and the importance of it. And actually, there's one thing I'm going to remove from it real quick. And I want you to see if you can figure out what it is I removed. All right. And why? Hey, Ernie, been missing you. Welcome back.
Yeah. A lot of things going on. Sorry about that.
All right. So let me pull this on screen here. As always, we have you tell us what market center you're in. There's some important questions here. Do you see one missing that's been there before?
On how many contract? Well, let's see. All the contracts and the escrow's open, escrow's closed.
I'm not there yet. This was
Oh, okay.
okay. So this is it used to be the first question on here. That's why I have it paused here to ask.
No.
Okay. Anyone else? So the question that I removed, and there's a reason for it, I'll tell you in a minute. But first, let's go through the rest of this. New contacts added to database. Somebody tell me why that's important.
Because that means you're generating leads. You're doing something out, generating leads.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, it's proven also how many leads are in your database is your income also follows.
Definitely. Any other thoughts? Okay, going along with Michelle,
It's
you're
just helping keep us focused on continuing to generate new ones and not get stuck on just the ones that we have.
absolutely. All of those things are true, right? Your database is your business. because most of our business comes from the people we know one way or another, right? And if they're in your database, most of them you know, and if you don't yet know them all, because maybe you did a Facebook lead or an open house and you've met them once, you get to know them, right? So they become people that you know. They earn the right to be in your SOI. So how many total contacts do you have in your database? Why do we want to know that?
So you know what you have to work with. I mean, you gotta get through a certain amount of numbers, certain amount of contacts to get a certain amount of contracts.
Yeah. Jason Abrams is famous for saying cuz math. Right? If we have a goal, do we know how many people we need in our database to achieve that goal? And if we don't have enough, do we have a plan to get enough in there? Right? Number of people in your pipeline. Anybody recognize this as a new question you didn't answer before? Okay. We talked a little bit about it last week, and some of you weren't on. I'm going to touch on it again briefly, but so the number of people in your pipeline is incredibly important to know, because you need the pipeline conversion is about 10-to-1 ratio. Okay, meaning that for every one transaction you aim to close or every family you aim to help, right, you need 10 people to have raised their hand and say, I want to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the next 12 months. And you might think, wow, 10 for every closing, I need 10 people to have said that. Think about it. Let's take buyers, for instance. If you're mostly working with sellers, that number may be smaller. It may be a 5-to-1, a 8-to-1, or something. But think about, let's just take the scenario of 5 buyers. Okay. And next month, interest rates jump 1%. Not saying that's going to happen. Nobody's saying any of this is going to happen. This is for sake of conversation. Okay. Interest rates jump 1%. How many of those 5 buyers can still buy? Any of them? 1, 2? So does that give you a little idea why the 10-to-1 ratio is something to look at? Also, what if of those same 5 buyers, what if interest rates go down 1%? But now prices go up because there's more competition. Are they still able to buy? Right? So it doesn't matter which way the pendulum swings. We can't count on the fact that everybody who was going to transact is going to transact. Okay. So it's super important that we are tracking our pipeline. And if they are truly in your pipeline, they should be in command, or Jeff, in your case, whatever your team is using, as an opportunity. Okay. So then, of course, we still number of times you practice conversations this week. We all know why that's important, right? Do we believe that? Do we believe that the more we practice our conversations, the better we'll be, the more natural we'll be, the more confidence we'll have?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. We want to see those numbers improve. Okay. You should be practicing conversations every day. Your percentage of your real estate path to success, that's just because if you're in foundation, if you haven't completed that, okay? We realize some people have completed it, just mark it complete and move on. Okay, number of appointments set. We have simplified this, by the way, and I want everybody to understand why. We don't want this tracking to be a drudgery, okay? We want this tracking to be for your help. So we have combined appointments. Doesn't matter what appointment it is, a buyer, a seller, whatever. Later, if you go into growth coaching and you start doing one-on-one coaching, then we will have we will break it down more for you then, okay? But right now, it's important that we're setting appointments. Okay, So how many did you set? And then how many actual real estate appointments did you hold? And how many practice appointments did you hold? Because remember, we should all be having a minimum of 1 appointment per week. Most of your goals, 1 appointment per week, you're going to kill your goal if you do that. I mean, you're going to knock it out of the park. And if your goals are higher and you need more, then you need more. But you'll know that personally as you progress through your business. 1 appointment per week. If you don't have a bona fide real estate appointment, what should you be doing?
Maybe practice one.
A practice one. So is there ever a time that a 0 should be in both of those fields?
No.
No.
No. We might give you a pass if you go away for a week on vacation. If it was in your calendar to do, right? Okay. Number of listings taken, number of buyer rep agreements signed, escrows opened, escrows closed. For those of you that are newer, if you don't have numbers in these columns yet, please don't be discouraged. They will come. Everything that's at the top leads to the things toward the bottom, or when you're looking at the spreadsheet, everything on the left leads to the activities on the right. Okay. So the outcomes, the activities lead to the outcomes. So it will come. Being cognizant that we complete our commitments for the week that we give our coaches in group or your one-on-one. Share your wins, share your struggles, because this is how we can best help you. So the thing that is missing from here, and it might surprise some of you, is number of conversations held. And I know Lori's on here listening because I said I was going to talk about this in group, or in Mastermind, and I haven't even talked to the coaches about this yet. Okay. So, hi, Lori Stevens. I was talking about Coach Lori. That's okay. No, it's okay. And you both spell your name the same way. Although she has my name on the picture, so that you guys don't know. She's here incognito. So sorry, Lori, if you were trying to be incognito, Lori Dunnigan, I gave you away because I saw you pop in your picture earlier. Okay. So number of conversations held. We've taken it off the tracker. Why do you think we did that?
We're gonna start focusing on appointments.
Yeah. I don't care how many conversations you've had. You hear a lot about you should have a minimum of 10 conversations a day. You should have 50 conversations a week. If you're in bold, you're hearing 20 conversations a day, 100 conversations a week. We need to have a target. We need to have a goal. It's important to know if you're having 2 conversations a day or a week, you're not going to get business for the most part, right? So we're flipping the switch though, because the bottom line is business comes from what?
Appointments.
Appointments. Does it matter if you have 2 conversations or 200 conversations to get an appointment?
No.
Yeah. The bottom line is if your goal is 1 appointment per week and on Monday morning you call and you set a bona fide legitimate appointment, I don't care if you take the rest of the day off.
Mhm.
Or keep setting appointments and have more business. That's up to you. But if Friday afternoon comes and you've been calling and talking to people and you still don't have business, that means not enough conversations were had. It doesn't matter how many were had.
Mhm.
It absolutely doesn't matter. So we need to change our thinking, right? Change our focus. What you focus on expands. That's a bold law. Focus on appointments.
Well, I mean, basically, like, Dan's been working with this. This is like what my focus is right now because I'm having tons and tons of conversations, but now it directs me to the purpose of the conversation. So if I'm having a conversation, it's the goal is to get an appointment. Like I'm having too much talk and learning too much about the person that I'm meeting out there or on the phone. and not setting that appointment. That's what they're hammering me for it right now. It's like, dude, you know too much about this person without having an appointment.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we really need to make sure that we're setting appointments
Mm.
and that we're using their questions or their objections as a reason to set those appointments, right?
Yeah, that's a
So,
reasonable thing to meet.
yeah. So an appointment that counts toward an appointment is something that is going to move a real estate transaction forward. And you should be having these appointments in person, on Zoom, however they work best for you and your client, when they're at least 90 days or less ready to transact, right? You're having a real listing appointment and a real buyer's consultation probably when they're closer to transacting. And there's nothing wrong with having a buyer consultation now, even if they're not ready for 3 months, right? We want to make sure that we're creating and adding that value to our clients. So we're not going to focus on conversations. You guys are all adults, right? I think we are, right? We may be young at heart, but
Physically.
my
Mentally, I'm
husband
still
would agree
16.
with that. He's
Come
just a big kid, right? A lot of
I
us
got
are.
two
Okay, but here's the point. We're
yeah, three
responsible
things
adults,
in
right?
Yes.
We know what we need to do to have business. So we need to be doing that. And if we're not setting appointments, we're not going to have business. And that's the bottom line. So whether it takes you 2 conversations or 200 conversations, I don't care. I care that you're getting business and you're funding that life that you want to have.
Mm.
Tell me your thoughts. What's coming up for you guys with this?
So I'm like, I mean, appointments, it's gonna take a little bit more time, but I like, and then I just had a practice listing with a good friend. And, a good old friend, and he sat down and was for, let me do it. And man, it was so beneficial just because now I have something to, number one, reflect on in home. Like little things that, okay, I need to tweak. So the more I do that, there's gonna be that portion afterwards to where I can reflect on it and tweak it. And then he also walked out of there going, man, I wasn't aware that you were doing all this and that you knew all this, and and literally said, I'm not ready, or I'm not going to sell my house or what have you, but I hear of anybody, I'll feel better about referring them to you. His exact words.
That is exactly the point of the practice conversations, because most of us don't want to reach out to our SOI. We do it reluctantly because we know we have to. Most of us will reach out, but then we don't ask for a referral. We don't ask for the business. That's the reason most agents don't have appointments, is because they simply don't ask for them. But when you do these practice appointments, now it's your friend or your family members helping you get better. You're not asking them for business, but then, oh, they find out you actually know what you're doing, or you're working to improve your skills. And now they're feeling comfortable to either use you in the future or refer you to somebody. And agents that do this regularly will get business from those practice appointments. So no excuses, guys. If you did not set a real estate appointment yet this week, has everyone set an appointment, a real estate appointment this week? Does everybody have one or had one this week?
Just had canceled.
Okay. So that's no. It was set but not held. So we got to keep going, right? Jeff's had one. Okay. If you don't want to tell on yourself, you don't have to. And and if you do not have an appointment this week or have not had one, call somebody today. Matter of fact, call or text somebody right now. I'm going to give you 2 or 3 minutes. I want you to call or text somebody, ask them for help. You want to practice your skills to become a better agent for your clients. Can I please do a practice either listing or buyer consultation? What do you feel you want the help with?
A few moments later.
Okay, Ernie, who'd you text?
One of my, old players' mothers
Okay,
been talking to.
Michelle, who'd you text?
My friend.
Okay. Other Michelle, who'd you text?
That's funny. I didn't text anybody.
And why not?
And I think that one of the things when you're like asking for feedback and where are you at and stuff, I know that us like being on the fence about whether we're going to sell or not is stopping me from moving forward. And then another conversation that I feel like would be super useful is we keep hearing about define your value, define your value, define your value. And I truly think that I get stuck with that. Like even in our meeting at the office on Tuesday, there was, I feel like Katie could just look at one person and be like, dun, 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 and she knew immediately what their value was. And I've listened to lots of things. I see it in moments, but I feel like I kind of get stuck there and I don't, yeah, I think that's just where I'm at. Like there's leads that are happening. I know that next month I have a listing that's going to come my way from a friend, and I could literally say, okay, yeah, I text her, but I didn't. I mean, I could go meet with her today and she'd say, okay, but I'm just being honest. It's just kind of where I'm at. And so I'm trying to stay focused and move forward and be in the program. And at the same time, the real struggles of like, where's this all going right now?
So I hear that, and we talked a little bit on Tuesday when I was there about that. But the fact that no decisions have been made yet, wouldn't it be beneficial to continue honing your skills? Because what if the decision is made that this is you're all in? You'd
I
be that
agree.
much ahead of the game, right?
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah.
So, and I hear what you're saying on value. And let me ask, who else feels that same way about being able to find and articulate their value? Who else would benefit from more conversation around that?
Always.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, for sure, always.
Hi, Kat. Glad you made it, and your little helper.
No,
Um,
can I, just real quick say, like, if you say you texted somebody right now and just did that, hey, can I do a practice thing, and you got a good response back from it, but I mean, there's certain little actions that you are doing or could be doing just to kind of help you, something might happen to help you make that decision. I mean, if you just go through and like what she said, hone your skills. I mean, who knows? The Lord might put somebody in there in your spot that is going to have one or two transactions, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, this is it. I finally found my value, and I'm ready to go. So action speaks louder.
Absolutely. I mean, I would love, like, if I'm the only one that's struggling with how to communicate your value as an agent, I would love to hear everybody else's value. Because I think that is something that I do struggle with. And I mean, there's things that come off at the top of my head, and I could be like, okay, I'm this, and that. But I also know my weaknesses. And I think a lot of it comes from you're doing the program, you're learning all the skills to, have your business be successful. You're not seeing results and it starts to wear on you. And I think the more transactions that you have underneath you, that absolutely will increase your, just to feel good about it and feel that you're doing the right thing. And, so I think that's where the struggle is. If there's some transactions behind me, I'm going to feel more confident about it. And that's not happening just yet. And so, yeah, I think that I'm just being honest with that. It's just something that I'm struggling with.
And I appreciate that about you, Michelle. You're always very honest and with the group, and that helps others. But realistically, in your situation, the circumstances haven't been there for you to be as regular or proactive as you would normally, right?
Mhm.
And so therefore the production isn't coming as fast as maybe you would like it. And there's extenuating circumstances, guys, that we're not going to go into, but there's reasons for that, right? And here's the thing, that's where this practice comes in, because whether it's real or whether it's practice, it's still learning, it's still educating you, it's still helping you, and you
Mhm.
can get feedback from them. There is everyone aware, because those that went through the video training series, you have to do some practice conversations, and you have to turn in an evaluation form in doing that. Those evaluation forms are in the PC toolkit. So look at those evaluation forms and see what you should be doing in those appointments to help you hone your skills. And when I say you, I'm talking to everybody, not just Michelle.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
there's ways that we can benefit ourselves and make things easier. It doesn't have to be an actual transaction. And when you have the actual transaction, you're going to get that much more experience and that much more knowledge, right? Because this really is a business that we learn as we go and we learn as we do. It's not just something we sit and watch some videos or go to a couple classes and I got this. And 27 years later, I still have things that come up that, oh, I need help with this. I'm not sure what to do here, because things are different, right? Different things come up in transactions that we may have never seen before. So we're never going to know it all, ever. So take some comfort in that, especially some of you that are brand newer, okay? We're never going to know it all, but we got to jump in and do it, because if we wait till we know more and to jump in and do it, we'll never get going. The business will never take off. And that's just a fact. That's a statistical proven fact. Even though it's scary because you don't have all the answers, it's okay. You have a safety net in your coaches. You have a safety net in your market center leadership. You have a safety net in other agents in your market center, in the coaching group. You've got so many safety nets. And it's okay to say, I don't know, let me find out and get back to you. That is part of a value proposition. I'm not going to know all the answers, but I am definitely going to find them out for you. People appreciate the honesty versus,
May I say something?
yes,
If I were to fill out an application, I would have to, there would be a spot on that application that would say, well, tell us a little something about you that makes you stand out. And then I would say, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but I'm a people person. I'm a good listener. I'm responsible, this and that, whatever it is. But if you can do that on a resume or an application, you've got a good handle on what you can tell a client as far as how you value yourself and how you set yourself apart from somebody else that's just the Joe Schmo, that maybe doesn't really work as hard as you do.
that is very true. Because remember, your value doesn't come just from being a real estate agent. Your value comes from your life of experience and skills that you've picked up along the way. Okay. It's not just about being a realtor and having done a transaction. But here's something that I'm going to say, and this is something that we're starting to talk a lot about in value conversations. There's a lot of value, and please, Dennis, I'm not picking on anything you said, because what you said is on point, and I'm going to make a small adjustment to it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When we give a value proposition, if it's all about I, using words like honest, integrity, blah, 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 blah. We shouldn't have to say we're honest, right? Our actions need to prove our value. So, what is it that you will do for your clients? It's about your clients. It's not about you. And when things are stated as we're taking the focus off of the client and on us. And yes, it's a value that we're providing, but my value is that I help my clients get the best possible price in the least amount of time with the least amount of hassle.
You have a lot of clients?
My value is that my clients will always be put first, right? So yeah, the word I and me is going to come in there, but do you hear the difference? It
I
isn't
totally
about
relate to
I
that.
and me. It's
I
about
agree.
them.
Mhm. You
And
could put it
that's
in their tense. You
right.
know, it's not, I am a wonderful person. It's, you are important to me,
Yeah. And
right?
if we tell that's true, right? And if we tell somebody, well, honestly, or I'm going to be honest with you, that can be taken as we're not always honest, right? Now we say that, and it doesn't mean we're not honest, but we have to be really careful with some of these words we use to describe ourselves. And are we using the same things that every other agent out there is using to describe themselves? What value is that? What's unique to you, and what is the experience that you're going to provide for your client? That's how you need to approach your value and your value propositions. Does that make sense? Michelle?
Mhm.
I just wanted to share real quick that the buyers that I'm working with, I had a situation. I believe it was before I went to Georgia. On it, actually, I think it was since I've been back. Anyway, regardless, we were looking at a house. It was something they were interested in, and then I called the agent about questions on the HOA, and she wasn't returning phone calls, didn't have any answers for me. And so I contacted the HOA and the management service and literally got a ton of information for them. And it was probably the first time in real estate that I was like, oh my gosh, I see my value. Like, this is great. And to be honest, the agent did call me back and I'm like, I'm not going to tell her everything I found out. Like, no, that was her job. She's got the listing. So probably sounds really bad. But at the same time, there was something about that that did click of like, that's the value right there. Like the willingness to go above and beyond and get those answers and to protect your clients. And so I see that. So I'm not sitting around going, oh, I don't see any value in myself. It's just, I know it's kind of what you're saying to Dennis right now. Like it's not, okay, I'm honest, I have integrity, I'm a good person. It's just more of like, how do you show that value one from the other? Because we're all, I would hope good people and honest people. um, but just how you can show that to somebody, that your willingness to go above and beyond. And I just want to expand that. I want to have 100% confidence when I'm talking to someone of how to what that looks like, I guess is what I'm getting at. And I hear these conversations, I listen to the tapes, listen to videos, hear it in the office. But almost what really was a big impression was Katie on Tuesday, how um, she could just look at every person and be like, dun, 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 dun. And I was like, wow, I want to be able to see that clearly in myself of the areas that, like, okay, this is something you do that maybe, someone else wouldn't do. Or, yeah. So I don't know. I just felt like with the whole idea of coaching and that being an important factor in our business, that would be something worthy of talking about.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking a lot more about it in the coming weeks because we do, and I see your hand, Ernie. We do have to make sure that we really understand the value, right? and how we are unique, how we have our own value that we bring to the table for the client. And that it's, as I said earlier, it's about the client experience, not about I, and all the same fluffy words that every other agent out there is using, because that doesn't differentiate us from anyone else, right? Do you do something at the close of every escrow? Do you donate to a charity at the close of every escrow? That would make something unique to you. Now, maybe you're someone who does that privately and you don't want people to know about that, then don't use that. But what is it that is unique to you, the value that you bring, the experience that you will provide? And I think maybe that's how we need to start framing this. What experience do we want our client to have with us? That is what our value is, right? Instead of just saying, what's your value? What's your value? Because that can get muddy and confusing. So before we go any more, Ernie?
Yeah, so I mean, on that value square that was just put on 4 times.
Mhm.
You know, and and I've used this a couple of times. It says, look, I'm a full-time, there's 2 types of agents. There's a functionary and a fiduciary, and I'm a full-time fiduciary agent. And my concern is that you might get represented by somebody that's just going through the motions. I just want to let you know that I'm somebody that's going to work overtime for you, protect your money, and the most important investment that you're going to make.
Mhm.
And just, you know, and work from there. And then there's the 2 sayings on the seller and the buyer. You know, I want to find you the house with the best price for the quickest amount of time, or I want to sell your house for the best price for the quickest amount of time with the least amount of hassles. You know, and on the other one on the buyer side, you know, so it's just those 2 little slides helps me
Yeah.
with my value proposition right there.
Yeah. And one caution though, be careful about overstating your
Mhm.
value, right? I heard you use the word overtime. Careful with that,
Right.
because there are times when you may be able to do more than normal, and there are times when you may not be able to. So if you're using that word particularly, I'm not saying you would, I realize we're having conversation here, but it just brings up the point of we have to really be careful. Always under promise and over deliver, right? But promise such that it provides the valuable experience that you want your client to have. And what is that?
Mhm.
And so over the coming weeks, we're going to really be breaking this down. And there's a lot that goes into providing a valuable experience to a client. We can talk for hours and hours on that. And then how do we break that down into a simple elevator pitch? How do we break it down? And, you know, it's what you're going to present at an appointment. It's what you're going to present in a listing packet or a buyer packet, right? All the way down to an elevator pitch. So there's different levels of ways to articulate that. And so over the coming weeks, this is what we're really going to be focused on. What
Jodi,
other
can you actually ask a potential buyer, what qualities are you looking for in a real estate agent?
Absolutely.
And maybe it would be a learning experience for you. You know, maybe some of the things that they come up with you don't have, and maybe you have the next guy that you try to sell. You're going to tune up your quality that you needed improvement on. I'm going to just try it. I'm going
So
to just try it with a buyer.
That's in a lot of scripts.
yeah,
A lot of
absolutely.
forward and top,
Ask
right?
each and every person that you have an appointment with.
Mhm.
What is important to you to get from this experience with me? What do you need from me for me to give you a 5-star experience?
Mhm.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, I like that.
So, and we have some things, and I will bring them prepared for you next week. We have, and I'll share a few slides with you. year after year after year, NAR, CAR does surveys, and they pretty much stay about the same each year. Percentages of what buyers and sellers are looking for in their agent. Okay, so we have a baseline to go by, but it is always good to ask your client that, because what you think might be value might not be value to them, right? As a matter of fact, I'm going to give you guys a heads up, and I would appreciate every one of you filling it out for me, please. And I realize if you're brand new, it might be a little more difficult, but we're going to be sending out a 2-question survey. 2 questions. And one is, do you find the most value in our coaching program? And the other is going to be, what would you like to see more of, less of, or done differently? Because we want to provide value to you as agents. And if what we think we're doing a great job in providing all this value, but there's something in there that you guys are all going, hey, I don't need that, we need to change that up, right? So it doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter if we're market center leadership, if we're a coach, if we're an agent, if we're a client. It doesn't matter what we're doing. We always have to be looking for that and looking at that and be willing to adjust that.
Well, and I think that's been kind of the key for me. I always kind of start out with, what are you looking for? Because that allows them to have a chance to talk about their bad experiences or their whatever, wherever it's gone wrong. And then of course, always having in the back of my mind, my bullet points, the things that I want to, but also not feeling compelled that I have to give them all to them. So being able to assess that if I've got them in 2, well, just stop at 2. They don't have to know all 5. That kind of a thing, I think just comes with doing it a little bit, and then kind of going, okay, I don't have to tell them everything I know. I just need to get them over the line and make them feel comfortable.
I love that you shared that, Jeff. Love, love, love that, because that is so true. Have you ever talked to somebody and just wish they'd shut up? Because you got it. I'm in. Where do I sign? Shut up. Let's move on.
Well, and I think that's the trap sometimes we all fall into, right? Their eyes are glazing over and we just still go. But I'm not finished, kind of a thing. And so
I love that you said that, because that's so true. We can talk ourselves out of appointments and out of business, right? We've had this conversation about commission objections. You get one commission objection and 5 ways to handle it. So instead of just handling it and zipping it, you throw them all out there because you're afraid if you stop talking, they're going to not do it, right?
Yeah.
That's equally important with this. Very important, especially if you found out what is important to them. If only 2 of your bullet points apply, then just talk about those 2, because that's what they care about.
Yeah.
Love this. What other thoughts, questions, comments do you have? And those of you that are brand new here, by the way, welcome, welcome. And please don't be afraid to chime in, okay? This mastermind is where we have high-level conversations about moving business forward. This isn't Ask a Coach. We don't ask the how do I do this in command questions, right? And don't be afraid to chime in, because if a question comes up, please, there's no dumb question, as long as it's pertaining to us, to the conversation and moving us forward in it, okay?
Jodi, just one quick comment that I will make based on kind of where we started with the conversations. I completely get that, and the goal being the appointments. I will say though, kind of reflecting on where I started, that felt real attainable. I think it was something that I felt like, oh, that's productive. Oh, that helps. And so I don't know how you would build that in or make that kind of a piece, but I think especially when you're brand new, just going, I just need to have conversations as well as the practice. But that was something that I felt like, okay, I'm accomplishing something that I understand, something I can do, something that I know how to do. So, kind of that leveling might be something to think about.
And I love that feedback, Jeff. And so don't misunderstand us taking it off the tracker that we're not wanting you to pay attention to that, right?
Yep.
But what we've noticed is agents get stuck in, oh, I have to have 50 conversations this week, but their circumstances didn't allow that many, or they had more, or whatever the case may be, right? They're stuck in, oh, I had 50, so I'm good.
Right.
And that's what we want to alleviate, right? Because we have agents getting stuck there. So
Right.
it's, we got to have as many as we need to have to get the appointment. And that said, it's still important for you to track that number, right? Or to be cognizant of the conversations you're having, because if you're not setting appointments, one of two things is going wrong, right? Either you're not having enough conversations, or you're having lots of conversations and you're not closing it. We need to work on the conversation itself.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, that's what, I mean, I've heard it a number of times, but Phil Jones really stresses it. He said, you just, there's a lot of salespeople that just, they don't ask.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't ask. And it's, you know, I'm back to that. It's just like dating, you know, you got a 50-50 chance. Ask them, you know, they're gonna say yes or no, you know, but a lot of people just don't ask, you know? So,
Yeah.
and that pushy thing, I got it out of the way. You know, it's like, because you know, got, oh, I don't want to be too pushy. Oh, I don't want to be too pushy. Don't want to be too pushy. But their schedule is not, you know, I think their schedule is like my schedule, you know, and they're supposed to get back to me right away and everything, but I'm not top of mind to any client or anybody that had called. You think, oh, why didn't they call me back? Well, you know, so that's, you know, you got to follow up 8 to 10 times. And you know, for the, oh yeah, you know, I meant to call you back, or you know, that's when you finally pin them down and talk to them. Oh yeah, you know, I'm sorry, you've been called me a couple times. I meant to call you back, and I was busy, et cetera, et cetera. You know, so you got to get that limited thought out of your mind and just start asking. And I've kind of tried to just keep it real basic, and you know, have the real estate conversation and just say, hey, let's go have coffee and talk about it a little bit more, you know, and then and work from there. So just you know, it'll evolve eventually. So you know, but I've been having conversations, you know, and tracking, you know, 45 to 50 a week, but no appointments, you know. So I've got to focus on that asking and setting the appointment.
Yeah.
I
So
add to that.
please.
When I was in Georgia, my best friend's father passed away up in Fraser Park, different county. But for the, I mean, last year and a half, we known he had been sick in hospice, and she knows I'm doing real estate full time. And because I was in Georgia and didn't specifically say, can I list your father's house? She thought because I was out of town that I wouldn't be able to do it. And the house went on the market 2 days ago.
Mm.
And of course I'm home. And so we talked about it, and she was willing to backtrack, but she'd already, her brother talked to another agent. I'm like, just leave it. Don't worry about it. It's okay. But it's a lesson. And like, I know Ernie, you've said to me before, like you need to be more out there with people and just a little bit harder and, you know, I don't know, harder, forceful, like, but ask, you know, be more direct, I guess is really something that it's not that I struggled with it. I just kind of figured it would happen. It's
Right.
like, okay.
Absolutely. And say, Michelle, I love that you shared that, because that's what really happens, right? It's simply about not asking. And Michelle, let's just say we've had a really nice SOI conversation. Okay. So we're just catching up. How are you? How's your family? Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Hey, it was so great to talk to you, Michelle. By the way, before we go, can I ask you a favor?
Yes.
You know, I'm really trying to grow my real estate business. There's so much out there that's confusing people in the media, and I want to help people. Do you know of anyone that I might be able to reach out to and help answer some questions that's thinking about making a move?
Sorry, I heard someone else's TV. I lost you. Absolutely love that. I think that that's a great way to finish a conversation, to get an absolute yes or no, and you're kindly saying it. So yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you're asking to help someone. You're asking a favor from them because they're
Yeah.
your friend, right? Or somebody you know, and you're asking to help someone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's a trick. Those of you that are newer and may think, oh, I gotta call somebody I know. Because if you're not admitting it, I know you're probably thinking it, at least because most people do, right? How about using the same practice conversation, the practice appointment scenario with, calling somebody and just saying, hey, Michelle, it's Jodi. Hey, you probably heard I just got my real estate license, or I just started in real estate. However you want to start that, right? Can I ask a favor of you? This may seem odd, but I have a favor to ask. Can I just take 5 minutes of your time and practice a conversation that I'm supposed to be calling people with?
Mhm.
Make it a practice. Because guess what? You're actually having the conversation.
Yeah.
But it takes the weirdness out of it, right?
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't matter how you approach it. They just need to happen. Like I said, whether it's 2 conversations or 200, it doesn't matter. We've got to get those appointments if we want business. And this market isn't changing. This market is what it is. And this is a great market. There's a lot of opportunity out there. A lot of opportunity out there. So let's help you guys figure out your value. Let's help you articulate that, and let's go give that value to people. Okay? If anything comes up through the week that you would really like to mastermind around, that is something that will help us move businesses forward, feel free to reach out. Throw it in WhatsApp, send an email to PC Ask a Coach. We'll include it. Okay? I always come with something, and maybe it's not valuable to you. So if you don't like what I bring, you have to bring something. Fair enough?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Any last thoughts, questions, comments before we go?
Yeah, what's a diplomatic way to close for an appointment? I mean, close for a listing. How would you go about after you've talked to the person for a while? What do you think is a real smooth way to say, can I have the listing?
Well, there's a very systematic way to do that, which you'll learn over time. But the simple answer to that is, well, it looks like we've answered all your questions. Do you have any other questions for me? Great. All we need to do to get started is have you sign this listing agreement. Make sure they don't have any other questions. Make sure you've addressed any and all concerns, and then just assume they're going to sign
Here's what needs to happen next.
it. Yep.
Great. I've answered questions is there any other questions that you have? No, not really. Okay, well, here's what needs to happen next. We need to get the contract signed, and we need to get some pictures taken, and we need to list it and get it on the MLS and get your house sold.
Yep. And there is a process for all of that. There's some video sample help. And then of course, through your group coaching and these things, we'll go over that even more so. And as we, go get them. As we go through the weeks too, we'll talk about how we can talk to our buyers and sellers with our upcoming changes so that we're creating that value such that it's not a non-issue. All right.
Yep.
Everyone have a great rest of your week, and no coaching or anything on Monday for the holiday, but we will be back here on Thursday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Jodi. Thank you.